Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Wednesday, November 12th, 2025, and I will be going over today's price action and the one trade that I took today. So coming into the day, looking at the 4 hour, I was pretty bullish considering that ES had blasted through these highs. We made a SMT on it, right here. We had this SMT. But since ES was just reacting like it wasn't even there, I was leaning towards being bullish back to all-time highs. But when market opened, we ended up just dumping immediately, and this was a 15-minute intermediate term low. It was a low inside of a 15-minute fair value gap, as well as I believe a 30. Yeah, it's also a 30-minute intermediate term low. So my ideal scenario was coming down, sweeping this, and then longing back up to here. But when we see market open just completely dump like it did, that's when you need to reevaluate and possibly switch your bias. So we dumped. We made a 5-minute up here that we just never retraced to. And then we just continued to go down. So I'm like, okay, what targets do we have over here? Well, there's this daily fair value gap, as well as this overall market maker sell model that would look something along the lines of this. And then this would be your other side of the curve. Looking possibly for this to finish, hit this daily gap, and then possibly get something out of this. But after we have made this 15-minute gap, my conditions were either longs from this daily gap or shorts from this 15-minute. So we come down, we're sitting inside of like a 1 hour at this point, and I believe we ended up, so this was a very nice mech model to the unfilled 15-minute and 5-minute, but I faded this because after we dumped, I think it was like 200 points. So we dumped 225 points right at open. Longs are not going to be nearly as probable as the short would be. And you have a 5-minute right here. So I just, through like back testing and journaling and whatnot, I know that this is a lot less probable. This is more of a 50-50 in this scenario. Especially with it being at 9:58, if 10 a.m. wanted to open up and then manipulate lower before going to this 15-minute, that was another possibility. So I just overall faded this setup. It ended up playing out, and it's not like a bad trade or anything. It's just from experience, I would rather take the short continuation than the reversal on the rebalance, because we could just 10 a.m. brings us down to here. Anyways, we've ended up coming back into this 15-minute, and then there's still this 5-minute above us. So conditions were either a really nice short out of this, or trading back into this 5-minute and then catching a short from there. So we ended up displacing through these lows and created a 3-minute fair value gap right here. So I went and marked that out. That was our highest time frame gap. Still had these lows, and we started to generate more lows right here. Ended up, give me 1 second. We ended up putting a high inside this 3-minute, and then at this time it was 10:30. So at 10:30, we open up into this 3-minute fair value gap right here, and we respect this wick inside this 3-minute, which would be a protected low, or a protected high, and we respect consequent encroachment of the wick, which is a rejection block because we swept a high inside of a fair value gap. So from that point, I went and saw that we had this 1-minute fair value gap right here. It got inversed, took my entry there. Stop was at the high, and TP was at the low down here. And my reasoning for this trade was we have a bunch of low resistance liquidity right here, stacked lows, and then we also have this daily gap that I believe is the current draw on liquidity lower. as well as ES is still higher up and had draws to the downside as well. So if we look at ES, at that time ES was right here, and we still had all these low resistance liquidity draws that were untapped. So I'm expecting ES to take these, as well as NQ to continue towards that daily for value gap. So you can see that it played out beautifully. And yeah, at that point I was done for the day. Pretty easy. What I liked the most about this trade was the way that we souped this high. We don't like print a body above this high. We just wick it and then reject and immediately get our inverse. So that's a really nice indication that this is probably going to be a high probability trade, as well as we're taking a trade in the same continuation as the overall trend, which is going to be a higher probability. I went ahead and stayed on because a lot of people didn't catch this trade in the Discord. So I saw this 3 minute right here that I just said, hey, this is probably a good 3 minutes to take. And I know a couple people took this and ended up getting full TP right there. So pretty good trade today. Price action was honestly really good. I liked today a lot. Pretty easy to navigate through. But yeah, if you want to join the Discord, I'll put a link in the bio. It's free. And message me on Instagram if you have any questions. I'll see you later.